There are 30,000 trafficking victims. This was estimated by UNICEF and Save the Children study held in 2001. The trafficking of women and children became a major issue in Albania from the 90s. After almost 50 years of communist rule, Albania's transition to democracy brought massive social and economic upheaval in which criminal networks thrived. Gangs used Albania's geographical position as a gateway into Western Europe for the trafficking of drugs, weapons and people. Anna, now 20 years old, describes how she has been a victim of human trafficking.
I was 13, my parents just divorced and I was shocked. A cousin of mine called me one day walking on the street. He brought me in a gas station where were waiting 3 other guys. Impossible to go away from. I lost my virginity there. A month after, I found myself traveling in Greece with a passport having my photo but not my real name. In 6 months, I stood close in a house waiting for clients coming. Asked for help, but no one was interested. I lost the hope when a client told me he wanted to help. Next day, 6 men came in the house I stood and suddenly after found myself in a police station. 4 months after was deported in Albania, for several years stayed in a shelter. Now I have a job in a textile factory, but not my real identity. Can't go in my city of origin, neither live with my parents.
There has been little support for the trafficked women returned to Albania until recently. They are socially excluded due to the stigma attached to prostitution in much of Albania. They face an ongoing threat from their traffickers who have lost their investment, so shelters have to maintain maximum security to ensure the women's safety. As Eva Zaimi, Vice Interior Minister, says, "In our country there are centers for trafficking victims' rehabilitation, but there is still a lot to do concerning their security." In 2001, for the first time under UN assistance, a national strategy against human trafficking victims was set up. Last 2 years, the priority changed in protecting women victims of domestic violence. Christine Arab, UNIFEM country manager and national coordinator of one UN program, explains UN assistance in protecting women's rights.
Primarily over the past few years, the work has been on strengthening the legal frameworks that protect women's human rights in the country and that will advance what we call gender equality. For example, 2006 saw the country adopt its first law against domestic violence. This is a civil law, not a criminal law, but still is an excellent advancement. And one key part of that is a protection order system, which is essential to protecting victims of domestic violence. And the UN played a strong role in the drafting of that with the government.
Diana Chuli, a well-known writer as well as head of Women Parliamentary Group, says how situation changed under the UN assistance.
Now is a different situation, and now we are working very much on laws, legislation. A month before, we passed the law in the parliament that now we'll have 30% of the MPs, of the members of parliaments, will have women.
Well, I think the UN would never like to say it is because of us. Our role has very much been supporting the government, the political parties, and women's NGOs. Women's NGOs have been fighting for the quota for over a decade, often with UN support, sometimes with others' support. Certainly it has been a priority of the United Nations to increase the number, at least increase the opportunity for women to take a stronger role in decision-making.
Albania has ratified all the needed conventions related to the Human Rights Convention and all the efforts that we have done as women in the women movement and as women in the parliament is to emphasize this concept, that women's rights are human rights.
UN focus is strengthening the legal framework. This might be one of the protecting human rights solution. Reducing poverty and bringing an open mentality has to do with Albania's will of change.